Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into one of the most shocking developments in the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. For years, Russia has boasted about so-called unstoppable weapons. These were advertised as superweapons that no country could defend against, no system could shoot down, and no army could resist. But now, Ukraine has proven that even these weapons are not invincible. Ukraine has managed to wipe them off the map, destroying the myth of Russian invulnerability. This is a story about how determination, innovation, and resilience can overcome even the most advanced weapons in the world. When Russia first unveiled its hypersonic missiles, the world was stunned. They were said to travel at speeds of Mach 10 or even Mach 20, meaning thousands of kilometers per hour, faster than any air defense system could react. Vladimir Putin personally boasted about these weapons, claiming they could bypass NATO defenses and guarantee Russian dominance in any conflict. State media portrayed them as miracle technology, a sign that Russia was decades ahead of the West. The message was clear: Russia was untouchable. But war has a way of revealing the truth. In Ukraine, these hypersonic missiles were deployed in real combat, not just in tests or parades. And when the dust settled, it turned out that they were not so unstoppable after all. Ukraine, with Western support, deployed advanced air defense systems such as the American-made Patriot and the German IRIS-T. These systems, operated by highly trained Ukrainian crews, proved capable of tracking and intercepting missiles that were supposed to be impossible to stop. For the first time, the world witnessed the destruction of Russian hypersonic weapons in the skies over Ukraine.
This was more than a military success. It was a psychological blow to the Kremlin. For years, Russia's image of strength rested on the idea of unbeatable weapons. If those weapons could be stopped, then the myth of Russian invincibility crumbled. And crumble it did. Ukrainian officials proudly announced each interception. Videos spread across social media showing the flaming wreckage of missiles that were supposed to change the balance of power. The West celebrated, and Russia was left embarrassed. Let's take a closer look at why these weapons failed. Hypersonic missiles are fast, but they are not magical. They follow predictable trajectories, and modern radar systems are designed to track even the fastest targets. The Patriot system, for example, has a long-range radar that can lock onto incoming threats from hundreds of kilometers away. Once detected, its missiles are launched with precision, guided by advanced software and real-time tracking. The key is not just the technology, but the training. Ukrainian crews trained for months with NATO specialists, learning how to react within seconds. When the moment came, they were ready. Another factor is that Russia often exaggerates its technology. What is shown in a presentation or military parade is not always the same as what works in the chaos of real combat. The missiles may look powerful on paper, but in the battlefield, technical flaws, poor maintenance, and rushed production reveal their weaknesses. Ukraine exposed this truth. By shooting down weapons that were supposed to be unstoppable, they reminded the world that propaganda cannot win wars.
The destruction of these weapons also has massive strategic consequences. Russia invested billions of dollars in their development. Hypersonic missiles were meant to be a symbol of superpower status, a way for Moscow to scare NATO and keep Ukraine in submission. But once they were neutralized, Russia lost not just hardware but credibility. Allies and rivals alike saw that Moscow's most prized technology was vulnerable. For countries like China, who are developing their own hypersonic systems, this was a lesson. For NATO, it was proof that their defenses are stronger than they thought. Ukraine's achievement did not happen in isolation. It was a result of close cooperation with Western partners. The United States, Germany, and other allies supplied not just weapons but also intelligence, satellite data, and logistical support. This partnership allowed Ukraine to see incoming attacks before they happen and prepare their defenses. Each successful interception became a symbol of unity between Ukraine and the West. Russia wanted to prove NATO was weak, but instead, it proved NATO's technology was more than capable. There is also a human side to this story. Every missile Russia fires at Ukraine is aimed at cities, power stations, hospitals, and civilian homes. These are not just military targets, they are weapons of terror. When Ukraine shoots them down, it is not only a military victory but a humanitarian one. Each destroyed missile means lives saved, families protected, and infrastructure preserved. The bravery of Ukrainian air defense crews is not just technical skill, It is a matter of protecting their people from daily terror. Russia's narrative collapsed further when Ukraine not only intercepted these weapons but also struck back at Russian launch sites. Using long-range drones and precision missiles, Ukraine managed to destroy some of the very bases and systems that launched the so-called unstoppable missiles. This turned the story on its head. Instead of Ukraine being helpless against advanced Russian weapons, Russia found itself vulnerable to Ukraine's counterstrikes. The balance of fear shifted dramatically.
The international community took notice. Military analysts who once doubted Ukraine's chances began to speak openly about Russia's declining strength. Western media highlighted each interception as a turning point. The message spread: if Ukraine can stop these weapons, then Russia's threats to NATO are not as dangerous as once believed. This boosted confidence in supporting Ukraine and deepened Russia's isolation. Meanwhile, inside Russia, frustration grew. Citizens were told by state television that their country had invincible weapons, a guarantee of safety and superiority. But when those weapons fell in flames, doubts spread. Families of soldiers asked why so much money was spent on weapons that didn't work. Russian scientists and engineers faced silent blame for overpromising results, and Putin himself looked weaker than ever. His image as the commander of an unbeatable military was shattered. Ukraine's success is part of a bigger pattern. Over and over, Russia has tried to intimidate with advanced technology, only to see it fail. Tanks like the Armada, which were supposed to dominate, barely appear on the battlefield. Drones promised to overwhelm, but Ukraine's electronic warfare systems disable them. And now, hypersonic missiles that were called unstoppable have been stopped again and again. The war has shown that determination, strategy, and unity can defeat even the largest arsenal. This also sends a message to the world beyond the battlefield. Countries that rely on fear and intimidation cannot assume their weapons will guarantee victory. What matters is resilience, alliances, and the will to fight for freedom. Ukraine embodies all three. The destruction of Russia's so-called unstoppable weapons is not just a technical achievement. It is a symbol that tyranny can be resisted and myths can be broken. The road ahead is still difficult. Russia will continue to launch missiles, and Ukraine will need constant supplies of air defense ammunition. Each interception costs money and resources, but the symbolism remains powerful. The world has seen that Russia's greatest boast has been turned into ashes. Ukraine, a smaller nation fighting for survival, has proven stronger than the myths of empire. As the war continues, the memory of these destroyed weapons will inspire Ukraine and its supporters. Each missile shot down is a story of courage. Each wreckage on the ground is proof that even the strongest weapons can be defeated, and each success brings Ukraine closer to victory. So, when we hear the phrase unstoppable weapons, we should remember Ukraine's achievement. Because in reality, nothing is unstoppable when a nation fights with courage, determination, and support from allies who believe in freedom. Russia's myth of invincibility has been wiped off the map, just like its so-called superweapons. And history will remember that moment not as a triumph of intimidation, but as a triumph of resilience.